This is Twit.
Samsung vomited every conceivable form factor on stage in London on Monday, or on Thursday, rather. Among the menagerie was the Ativ Q, a hybrid tablet laptop that can run Windows 8 and Android. There's also the Galaxy NX mirrorless camera that runs Android. No phone in that one. An Ultrabook called the Ativ Book 9, both Lite and Plus models, which run Windows 8. Add to that the Ativ Tab 3 Windows tablet, an all-in-one Windows PC called the Ativ One 5. Yeah, 2 numbers there. And since they didn't have any extra time, they also showed off previously announced Samsung Galaxy S4 Active, the S4 Zoom, and the S4 Mini. Those are phones.
Judges have signed off on broad orders which allow the NSA to collect information inadvertently collected from domestic U.S. communications without a warrant. The Guardian has published full 2 top-secret documents submitted to the Secret Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, known as the FISA Court, signed by Attorney General Eric Holder, which detail the procedures the NSA is required to follow target non-U.S. persons under its foreign intelligence powers and what the agency does to minimize data collected on U.S. citizens and residents in the course of that surveillance.
In case you forgot, Apple and Samsung are still suing each other all over the world. A new ruling from a Tokyo court says that Samsung did infringe on Apple's bounce-back patent on earlier models of its phones. So what effect will this have on your Galaxy S, XYZ Mini, whatchamacallit? Well, pretty much nothing, as Samsung has already designed around this by using a blue line instead of rubber banding on its phones.
Oh, good. Apple's ebook fate is now in a judge's hands. The U.S. Department of Justice and Apple made their closing arguments Thursday in front of Judge Denise Cote of the U.S. Southern District of New York in Manhattan. The DOJ brought the case against Apple and 5 publishers, alleging conspiracy to limit price competition and raise prices in the ebook market. The 5 publishers settled out of court. Apple went ahead with the trial.
Speaking of Apple, Apple's fragmented. Oh no, what will we do? Well, if you're a developer, you really only have to worry about the latest operating system. Just 1% of Apple's App Store visitors still use a version older than iOS 5, which of course was released back in October 2011. And only 6% are still using last year's iOS 5, which is the last version supported by the original iPad and 2009 iPod Touch. Apple also expects that adoption of iOS 7 will follow a quick pace of the previous releases, due in large part to the company's efforts to upgrade users and prepare developers for that update.
No apple pie chart jokes there. The UK Information Commissioner's Office has told Google it has 35 days to delete any data Google mistakenly collected while gathering Street View information, or Google will face criminal charges. The ICO did not impose any fines on Google. Google said, forget you, we're not doing anything. Well, they didn't say that. They said they're going to work with the agency and delete the data.
Delete the data or keep the data? They seem to get mixed messages there. U.S. Representative Zoe Lofgren and Senator Ron Wyden co-authored a column in Wired today introducing Aaron's Law. The proposed legislation is named after Aaron Swartz, who killed himself in January after facing felony charges under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Aaron's Law attempts to bring more balance and proportionality to the CFAA and establish that mere breaches of terms of service or employment contracts should not trigger automatic violations of the CFAA.
I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Let's start with the bad news first. A Federal Aviation Administration advisory panel weighing whether to ease up restrictions on the use of personal technology devices in flight, like Kindles and e-readers and iPads and all that stuff, has delayed its recommendations by 2 months until late September. This is according to the FAA. The good news is that this delay comes at the same time as reports that advisors are expected to recommend the agency relax its guidelines and allow passengers to use more personal electronics on flights.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm glad you finished with the good news. Another new Apple product, another new Wi-Fi issue. Gizmodo reports, and Ars Technica passes along, that many people in Apple's discussion forums complain that the new MacBook Air often drops their Wi-Fi connection, sometimes after a few minutes, and some people are requiring a reboot to reconnect it. Other users, including Ars Technica's own staff, have experienced no trouble at all. Gizmodo speculates the problem might relate to the new 802.11 AC antenna for the MacBook Air being inside the Air's plastic hinge. So when you set it on the desk, it doesn't work very good.
Lenovo quietly introduced a bunch of new hardware. The most interesting is a 10.1-inch Lenovo Mix tablet with a keyboard cover. It runs Windows 8 on an Intel Atom processor. It costs $500, and Lenovo says you'll get 10 hours of battery life. Lenovo also introduced some additions to its IdeaPad S series and U series. Prices for those new laptops range from $429 to $899. The devices will launch in July and August.